Okay, hello, world's families.
Hi, guys.
We are going to do a quick video to kind of go through some of the important key information for this weekend. First off, we're incredibly excited. There are over 800 teams representing Worlds, and I believe this is the 15th annual Worlds, but for us, it's our very first one. So that kind of means a lot. It means that we're the very first World Elite program to be representing on a national stage at Worlds, so that carries a lot of important stipulations with it. We're representing what people's impression of what World Elite is going to be on the world's on a world's level. So that's a lot of expectation for us this season. So we want to make sure that everybody understands what's happening, and we can have everything go as smooth as possible. First off, we have a letter that's going to be included in this post. That letter has a lot of information in it that we're going to be going over. You can print that and keep it for your records. If you have some questions on the video, go ahead and post them on the Facebook page underneath, and then we're not going to probably answer them right away unless it's a quick answer, but we might put together a frequently asked question. Although many of our World's families kind of know the ropes, so there might not be that many questions, but if there are, go ahead and post them. First off, a key important fact is transportation. Because we are staying off-site in Orlando, we are not able to utilize the USASF transportation buses, which are pretty easy when you're staying on site. Because of that, we are going to, World Elite will be handling all the transportation for athletes to and from every practice and coaches. We will also be handling transportation to each competition day, but we will not be handling transportation coming back. And the reason for that is because in the past, families and athletes leave at different times. They want to stay and watch teams. Sometimes they go to a different park. And we don't always all leave at the exact same time. So our transportation will be handled to and from practices and then to every competition time. And that is for athletes and coaches. So parents will be taking care of their own transportation, whether they rent a car or get an Uber or take a taxi. So that's it. You want to do registration in a second?
The next thing is when you are there to pick up your hopper passes. I just want to make a couple things clear. First of all, passes can be picked up at the All-Star Sports Resort at Celebrity Hall. That's where all the passes should be picked up. Now for Crave, we will be picking up Crave's passes, but if you added on to Crave's, then you will pick up your passes at Celebrity Hall, but your daughters will not be there. We will have those. For Temptation athletes and additional passes will all be picked up at Celebrity Hall by each individual.
And the address and some of those instructions are in the letter, so you can look at that to get more information.
Also, just so you know that we will be arriving on Thursday. We're getting into Orlando around 11. We're heading straight over to Celebrity Hall from the airport. And as soon as we have our check-in done with the USASF and pick up the hoppers that we're responsible for, we will send out a text to the girls so that they know they can pick up their hopper passes. But just on a note, if you are there earlier than we get there, you will not be able to pick up your passes because we have all the waivers for the athletes and the compliance forms, which we will be turning in when we get there. So they will not release anything to anyone until they have those in hand. So I just want to make that clear that we will be taking care of that as soon as we get there.
So if you arrive prior to 11 a.m. on Thursday and you go to Celebrity Hall to try to get your passes, if we haven't checked in yet and turned in all of our release waivers, they won't release anything, not for any teams and or for any families. We leave on one of the earlier flights, so hopefully we're getting there as early as anybody else. And we're heading from the airport directly to Celebrity Hall.
So we may see you over there. Also, for the performance order, I just want to let everyone know that there is an app that you can download. You can go onto the App Store or to Google Play. It's USASF Worlds, and you can download the app. It will keep you updated on performance order, results, a little bit of history. It's kind of an interesting app, so look for that information in the letter too.
One more thing on passes as well. If you purchased an ESPN general admission ticket only, so you didn't get a park hopper, you just pre-purchased admission to ESPN, those are not picked up at Celebrity Hall. Those are picked up at the ticket gate at ESPN Wide World of Sports, and you cannot pick them up until Friday morning at 6:30 a.m. So if you get there on Thursday and go to ESPN and try to go to the ticket counter, you won't be able to pick them up. And those are for the ESPN general admission tickets only, so no park hopper.
Also, one more thing on the park hoppers. If you are wanting an additional park hopper, they will have some available at Celebrity Hall in the merchandise tent that you can purchase that day, or you can upgrade as well. Of course, you may have to stand in line for that, but that will be available there as well.
And again, on lands, plan on lines. There are over 800 teams. I don't even know how many countries that are represented. And it just takes time. So plan on that first day to be a complete travel day. That's why we have a complete travel day, and don't, hope that people get in by noon and are done with the day, because it takes a long time in our experience. All right, moving on to venues. Temptation will be competing in the HP Fieldhouse all 3 days. So from U.S. trials all the way through to finals, IOC Large is competing in HP Fieldhouse. Crave will be competing in the new arena on Sunday and the HP Fieldhouse on Monday. There's some information in the letter about fan viewing and where you need to go to get in line for fan viewing. And I highly recommend anybody on Crave to read that, because the arena's new, so we don't really know where to go. And then if you're new to Worlds on Temptation and you haven't done that, please read that. Now, again, you'll be with our families, and someone's going to figure it out, so it shouldn't be that complicated. But take a look at it so you know where to go, so that we're in fan viewing. It's a very specific line, and if you miss going in, they don't let you in that side door. So that's that.
Okay, so also just as a reminder, the athletes will need to bring a government-issued ID with them. The majority of them have driver's license, which is totally acceptable. I know we have some younger athletes who don't have that type of ID yet, but everyone should have an ID. They will need to have them on their person when we arrive to the venue to compete, because they will be checking IDs against rosters.
In order to get into the warm-up room.
In order to get into the warm-up room. So just make sure that your athlete packs that or brings it on the plane with them. Also, I just want to, going back to the hopper pass really quick, when you get there and you get your hopper pass, the first thing that you need to do is take a picture of it and keep it on your phone. Because in case someone forgets it when we go to the venue and they can't get through the gate, if you have it on your phone, then we're good. So just make sure that you take a picture of your hopper in case you lose it, or when we're getting through the gates at the venue.
And on the IDs, a school ID will not work. It has to be a state-issued government ID. Everybody knows that. So if somebody shows up without an ID, they will not let them in the warm-up room. And the USASF has been very strict about that. All right, moving on to itineraries. We will have a team itinerary that's included with our pre-scheduled events and our times. So that's practices and competition times and things like that. I'm going to include that itinerary. It is a working Google Doc. So if I make an adjustment to it, it will be a live update for you as long as you have the link. And when we do make adjustments, we'll go ahead and communicate that back out through Facebook and probably Team Parents. The itinerary that we're posting tonight is subject to change. We're down there primarily. Number one priority is for Worlds. It's for competing. So we want families to enjoy it, and we want our athletes to enjoy it, but the number one priority is competing. So if coaches have to call something, or we need to make an adjustment for the betterment of the reason we're down there, then we're going to need to do that, and we need families to comply with that. Itineraries are to be followed through the entire event by the athletes. It is absolutely mandatory. Coaches, like I said, may call additional meeting times and events, and we'll communicate that ASAP, and hopefully give athletes time to get from where they're at to do it. We also want, again, like I said, we want families to enjoy it and athletes to enjoy it, but the number one priority is being down there to compete. Policies. There are some USASF policies that are in the letter. Please review those. The last one we want to get is a sanction or any type of disqualification. I don't think that would happen, but there are some media policies, when and where you can take pictures, things like that. So those things are in the letter, so please take a look. We also have our World Elite policies. Number one, our World Elite promise statement is always in effect. There's a link in the letter to our handbook where you can review our promise statement policies, but those things are always in effect. And it's increasingly more important when we are at an out-of-town overnight event. And even beyond that, this is the very first year that World Elite will be at a postseason event. So our athletes and families are representing World Elite, and we take that with a very high level of regard. So please keep that in mind. Review the promise statements and make sure that you're following them, athletes, coaches, and families. Mandatory itinerary times, I already said this, but the itinerary is Mandatory. The times are mandatory. Know what to wear. Be there on time. Have your hair right. Have your makeup right. This is not the time to show up late with the wrong something and forgetting something. I mean, it's a very high level of commitment and a high level of stress that goes with these events that are happening. So pay attention to the itinerary. Bring what you're supposed to bring and be there on time. No swimming on the day you compete. I don't know if this is new for anybody or not, but no swimming on the day you compete. Dehydration is the #1 reason why athletes are not able to perform at their capacity at Worlds. I've watched it myself. I've coached it myself. Do not swim. Protect yourself from the sun. If you want to get sunburnt to the gods after we compete, then do that. But prior to competing, wear sunscreen. And I know that sounds trivial, but I've seen it. I've seen it affect athletes. I've seen it affect their performances. You're in Florida sun, and we live in Ohio, and we just got done with 7 months of snow. So we're not ready for the sun, no matter how much you've been tanning. No more than 2 hours at a park excursion on the day you compete. Again, that's dehydration and just kind of keeping our athletes fresh. We're competing in the morning. I think day 1, we're in the morning or early afternoon. And then on advancement, Crave could compete really early, and then Temptation could be really late. So we don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours at a park and then go compete. So that's it.
Just so you know, I mean, there's a lot of really good information in the letter that we're sending. There's also a few details about the accommodations where we're going to be staying. So make sure you read through that. And just like Pat said, we have the Google Doc. It's going to be ever change. Like if there are adjustments made, you'll be able to see it. Pretty much, I mean, you really, all you have to do is read. And then you know exactly what to do, where to be, and when to be there. So
our contact information is on there. I know you already have it, but if it's an itinerary or a competition question, that would come to me. If it's a registration or park hopper or an administrative question, that would go to Laura. Somehow AJ got out of all questions, but okay, that's it. Go World Elite.
Yeah.